and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, President Trump announces a plan for the U.S. to take over the Gaza Strip. Plus, Maine communities may soon have more power to take over abandoned dams. And we'll also see how local hospitals are picking up the slack when it comes to delivering babies in Maine. Good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Colson. Emma Smith has the week off. We thank you for joining us this morning. We'll have those stories and a lot more coming up for you. But first, a check of the forecast. Looking like a rather quiet day today. Not bad at all, although it will be on the chilly side. Wind chills are expected to bring down the temperatures below zero today, so you'll want to bundle up when you head out. Tomorrow, it looks like we might get a little snow. For more on what we could expect, let's turn things over to Devin Biggs.
Hey, Craig, thank you very much. Some reduced visibility greeting us this morning, especially near the Millinocket area, so some areas of dense fog greeting us in a few spots this morning. On top of that, we do have small crowd advisories that are posted along the coast, and this will last until later on today at about 2 o'clock or so in the afternoon. We also have cold weather advisories further off towards the north. Some cold temperatures and some cold wind chills have been observed. Check out the low temperatures so far this morning. They're actually not too bad across the northern parts of the state. Further down to the south, not too bad either. The wind not doing much favors across the northern parts of the state. But for now, not a whole lot going on. And in fact, today looking like a nice day on the way, filled with a lot of sunshine. But that will be changing later on as we'll be watching for opportunities for snow. Not today, but in the days to come. But for now, the whole Northeast looking rather quiet, with the exception of Pennsylvania and New York. Some snow starting to develop. Some active weather on the way for them. But futurecast for us in the short term, lots of sunshine, maybe a few passing clouds today. Coming up later on tonight, staying mostly clear for a while, but notice clouds will begin to move in ahead of our next system. Here's the gusty winds reaching up to about 20 miles per hour today, and the winds will start to calm down a little bit overnight tonight and not looking too bad for tomorrow either. Your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing a lot of sunshine with temperatures warming into the mid-teens. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig?
All right, thank you, Devin. Big news this morning. President Trump says he wants the U.S. to take over the Gaza Strip, even if doing so involves pushing its nearly 2 million Palestinians out of that war-torn region. The pushback was swift overnight, with some calling the idea ridiculous and accusing the president of trying to distract Americans from Elon Musk's efforts in Washington. ABC's Christiane Cordero has more.
After enduring nearly 16 months of war, Palestinians in the Gaza Strip were finally able to return home and now face another hurdle in the long process to rebuild. President Trump's idea that the U.S. would handle it.
We're going to take over that piece, and we're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs.
Sitting side by side in the Oval Office with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, Trump was asked if he thinks the 1.8 million Palestinians should have a right to return.
It would be my hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell.
But it's their
one
home,
of the meanest, one of the meanest, toughest
why would
places
they leave?
On earth.
But at first chance, and despite having few resources, Palestinians were eager to get back home.
It's important to point out that of this almost 2 million people in Gaza, they're likely not to go willingly. So they will have to be expelled by force, which would require military force. Pushing them into a country, two countries would have already completely said that that is not going to be allowed.
And Trump appears open to using military force.
If it's necessary, we'll do that.
Insisting Egypt and Jordan take in large numbers of Palestinians, even though leaders from both countries have bluntly opposed that idea. In the U.S., Democratic leaders are calling Trump's proposals ridiculous, dangerous, and a distraction.
It seems to me completely possible that he's also trying to distract us all from the ransacking of the Treasury Department's federal payment system that is going on right now under the thumb of Elon Musk.
The proposal of going into a war-torn area and providing economic and housing aid is essentially the work USAID does. Their figures show roughly half of the humanitarian assistance the U.S. provided to the Palestinian people came from their agency, the same agency Trump and Musk have vowed to dismantle. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Well, it has been a chaotic first 2 weeks of the Trump presidency, with controversial appointments, federal cuts, and tariff threats. Brad Rogers has more on that part of the story.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I don't think any of us expected this last 2 weeks of chaos and illegal activity.
Democratic Congresswoman Shelley Pingree says people across Maine are calling her office in a panic over Elon Musk gaining control of the Treasury Department's payment system, including sensitive data like Social Security numbers.
Please stop the access to sensitive information and federal funds that were granted to Elon Musk and his associates. It really bothers me that somebody that wasn't confirmed by Congress, hasn't gone through any security clearance, would just be able to get all that information on United States citizens just at the drop of the hat.
Elon Musk donated $288 million to Trump's election campaign. In return, Trump gave Musk unparalleled access to cut government spending.
Elon Musk also has a little bit of common sense, and I think the American people really appreciate that when it comes to the federal government, because it seems like all common sense has been lost in this city.
Democrats have already filed 20 lawsuits to try to stop moves by the president that they believe are illegal and unconstitutional. Republicans in Congress support President Trump.
They are going to do whatever it takes to just get what they want, using Doge and Elon Musk, invading our privacy, these spending cuts that are illegal.
Congresswoman Pingree says what's happening is unconstitutional because the Constitution gives Congress power over the budget, not the executive branch.
I don't think any self-respecting Republican or Democrat thinks that you should have an unelected billionaire shutting down departments of government, making spending cuts, deciding, issues of international health or domestic education or any of the things that he's involved in doing.
Brad Rogers reporting. In other news this morning, Maine State Police are mourning the loss of a canine that was killed in the line of duty during a violent standoff up in Portage. An Aroostook County Sheriff's deputy was also wounded in that same standoff and is recovering. The suspect, who allegedly fired at police, was also shot and killed. The Maine Department of Public Safety says authorities responded to Ranger Street in Portage for a domestic dispute involving 29-year-old Stephen Regini. A woman reported she and Regini had been fighting and that he pushed her into a wall. When police arrived to help her leave, she was outside, but Regini was still inside with her 4-week-old infant. It ended around 8 p.m. when Regini tried to flee but was shot and killed when he allegedly pointed a gun at police. During the incident, Canine Preacher, a 4-year-old Belgian Malinois, was deployed to apprehend Regini when he was shot in the abdomen. The dog was rushed to an emergency vet but could not be saved. Maine State Police Colonel William Ross called Preacher a dedicated partner, a protector, and a hero who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect others from harm. A deputy was also shot in the shoulder during the exchange and has since been released from the hospital. The 2 officers involved in the shooting are now on administrative leave while the Attorney General's office investigates the use of deadly force. Meanwhile, Brewer police have identified a suspect involved in a tense police standoff on Monday night. Officers from the Brewer Police, Bangor Police, and Penobscot County Sheriffs all at the scene there on Riverview Terrace. Brewer police say a domestic assault had been reported to one of their officers, and an investigation revealed the woman had been assaulted multiple times, including with a firearm. According to Brewer police, she was able to escape and was taken to a hospital with serious injuries. 22-year-old Richard Bach was identified as the alleged suspect. Police say they located him at the residence on Riverview Terrace in Brewer, but because of his violent history and the belief he had a gun, they conducted surveillance. Law enforcement surrounded the home and attempts were made to get him out. A door was eventually breached and he came out. Bach now faces numerous charges, including aggravated assault, criminal restraint, and creating a police standoff. Well, shoppers were evacuated during a scare Tuesday at the Waterville Walmart. Police were called to the store around 2 o'clock for a man who was experiencing a mental health crisis. When they got there, they discovered the man had sustained self-inflicted wounds to his neck. Medical personnel gave him aid before rushing him to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Well, the body recovered in a fishing vessel that sank off the coast of Washington County has now been identified. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner says the body recovered from the sudden impact vessel by divers on Sunday is that of Chester Barrett of South Addison. A search for Chester and his son Aaron began on January 18th when the 2 men were reported missing. They were heading from Edmonds to South Addison aboard the sudden impact when it sank in 160 feet of water near Moose River. A statement says the Maine Marine Patrol will continue periodic patrols in the area with the goal of locating Aaron, who was not found on board the boat or near that sunken vessel. Well, there's a long list of recently filed bills at the State House in Augusta that seem to take aim at abortion rights. Asia Reed explains what's behind one of those bills and the response from Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood Maine says that certain bills submitted to the state legislature suggest that some politicians are trying to, quote, enact harmful policies like criminalizing abortion. One state representative disagrees with this.
We're not going to spend taxpayer dollars on services that are very morally wrong.
The language of some bills at the State House involving health care and abortion have not been fully written, though the titles have been. One reads an act to repeal laws allowing abortion and to criminalize abortion, sponsored by Republican Representative Abigail Griffin. Another, an act to prevent the Maine Care program from covering abortion services, sponsored by Republican Representative Kathy Javner. Assistant House Majority Leader Representative Lori Gramlich says in part about anti-abortion bills, quote, decisions about pregnancy and whether or not someone chooses to have an abortion are deeply personal and should be left to individuals and their providers, not the government. Lisa Margulies, Vice President of Public Affairs at Planned Parenthood Maine Action Fund, says we are facing a national health care crisis.
Politicians are unqualified to make private complex decisions about our health care.
Executive Director of Maine Right to Life, Mike McClellan, says their organization aims to value human life and make abortion illegal. He says it's hard to determine a stance without bill summaries just yet, but says he's pro-women and thinks abortion has negative impacts on them.
There's mental health reasons, physical reasons, obviously the loss of a child.
McClellan claims Planned Parenthood is a for-profit business that benefits from abortions. Margulies calls that misinformation.
The truth is that Planned Parenthood of Northern New England provides essential health care to anyone who needs it, no matter what.
That was Asia Reed reporting. Meanwhile, a bipartisan coalition of lawmakers from Hancock County is now working on a slate of bills that would allow Maine towns to take ownership of abandoned dams. Our Augusta reporter, Corey Bichard, with that story.
And so we're trying to plug the holes as we're finding them.
Representative Nina Milliken, a Democrat from Blue Hill, is talking about 6 proposed bills she sponsored that aim to tackle issues with Maine's laws surrounding the abandonment of dams. That includes LD 62, an act to support municipal and county actions on dam ownership, a bill that was written and submitted by the Department of Environmental Protection. The bill was submitted due to recent actions by dam owners in the Bucksport area attempting to abandon their dams.
If the company that owns the dams in Hancock County were successful in being able to abandon them, they would have the right to drain Toddy Pond, Alamoosic Lake, and Silver Lake.
The companies are attempting to abandon their dams by using a law passed by the Maine legislature in the 90s that apparently allows for such actions.
As far as I know, that statute has never been used to completion in Maine so far, and because of that, we are finding, as this process goes on right now in Hancock County, that there are a number of places where that statute could have been drafted better.
Representative Milliken says that while her name is on the bills, she's not the only member of Hancock County's delegation that supports and is pushing for these changes. In fact, it's a bipartisan effort, including Representative Stephen Bishop and Senator David Hagan, both Republicans, as well as Democratic Senator Nicole Grahowski.
That would extend the timeline laid out in that statute that was put in the 90s so that communities have a longer opportunity to respond when a company tries to abandon those dams.
The bill will now face a public hearing and work session before facing a full vote of the legislature. At the State House, I'm Corey Bichard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
And the time now is 6:14. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, there were big concerns when some local hospitals announced they were closing their birthing centers. We'll hear what that means for expectant parents and how other hospitals are now stepping up. But first, another check of the forecast. Today, it looks like a mostly sunny day with high temperatures around 16 degrees, although it will feel much colder with those wind chills. Mostly clear tonight with lows dropping down below 0. Mostly cloudy with a chance of snow tomorrow with highs near 30 degrees. We'll be right back.
When bad allergies attack, trust Claritin to keep you in the game. Nothing has proven more powerful for continuous non-drowsy allergy relief. Live Claritin Clear.
Isabella Strahan.
It's been rough, it's been challenging, and it's been very hard, but I know I'll get through it.
Life interrupted.
Love and that support really helped her pull through.
I'm very proud of her.
Tonight on ABC.
Your favorite restaurants for half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
Opa, a Greek Mediterranean dining experience like no other, serving the finest Greek dishes in central Maine. Let executive chef Gage Derbyshire prepare your food while you enjoy a drink. Opa! It's all Greek to me.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
Hey, good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Every day of your life.
In this courtroom,
I see somebody who's lying to me.
if you lied,
You have zero evidence.
you will be
I'm screwed.
denied.
Is he lying?
He was intoxicated.
What? Real cases.
What about that?
Real litigants.
You got denied.
The People's Court.
All this week at 4 on ABC 7.
Welcome back, everyone. After roughly a year-long delay, the Maine Department of Transportation is seeking bids soon for a construction project to build suicide prevention barriers along the Penobscot Narrows Bridge. According to a spokesperson for the Maine DOT, the project was delayed after it was determined they needed to perform additional testing to ensure the design of the project did not compromise the overall safety and performance of the bridge. This project is the result of a law that was passed in 2023. The barriers aim to prevent people from jumping from the bridge, which has been the scene of numerous suicides since its construction in 2006.
The main challenge has been the delay because we needed to check to make sure that this fencing was not going to have any sort of adverse impact on the bridge or the people using it. We're past that hurdle. We're optimistic that we can move this project into construction in the next few months and get it done before the peak summer season.
Suicide prevention advocates have lobbied for a barrier on that bridge for years. Merrill says they plan to open bids later this month and hope to have a contractor selected by March. Northern Light Health announced last month that it will be closing its birthing center in Waterville, one of the few options for expectant mothers in central Maine. So what does that mean for patients who plan to deliver there? Our Alex Schley takes a look at how other hospitals are now preparing.
In January, Northern Lights Inland Hospital and Women's Health in Waterville announced that they will be suspending birth services on March 1st. In a statement to Fox Bangor, Senior Vice President of Northern Lights Health and Chief Marketing and Communications Officer Suzanne Spruce said, in part, quote, "The decision to suspend a service like this is never easy. This decision was made after much thoughtful discussion and with careful consideration given to how to best care for the expecting parents in these communities." Spruce says Northern Light has been working with Maine General Health, Redington Fairview General Hospital, and other Northern Light facilities to transition parents to surrounding medical centers. At Redington Fairview General Hospital, birth center nurse manager Allie Tully says she hasn't seen an increase in patients yet, but they are ready.
In the birthing center, we haven't seen anything yet. You know, March 1st isn't here yet, but I do know Redington is just trying to make the transition as easy as possible for individuals that choose to come here.
Redington Fairview General Hospital's family physician, Dr. Abigail Masterman, says the staff at the hospitals will work together through the transition.
If a patient is established in Waterville for their regular life and their primary care, then it makes sense for them to continue there. If they have a really good experience here and want to continue with our providers, that's probably possible. It really depends on what they're looking for.
Masterman says birthing center closures aren't just happening here in Maine, it's a nationwide issue. Healthcare workers say they're seeing a decrease in birth center staffing across the country.
One big issue is recruitment of providers and staff who provide services.
Masterman says this can be seen especially in rural communities, and while experts are working to address the shortage, birthing centers continue to close across the country. In Skowhegan, I'm Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
And the time now is 6:19. After the break, we'll hear how a local Best Buddies program is improving the lives of children with disabilities. Plus, big concerns in California after President Trump makes big changes to the state's water supply in the wake of those recent wildfires. Those stories and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Need your car fixed? You got somebody. Need your roof repaired? You got somebody. Need electrical work? Here's your somebody. The team at Ideal Energy Solutions is ready to tackle anything electrical in your home. From upgrading your service to handle today's appliances and heat pumps to whole house wiring, Ideal Energy Solutions is your somebody. Contractors for residential and commercial work. Don't settle for less than ideal. Go with Ideal Energy Solutions. Call today.
You bought your Toyota because Toyota is the longest lasting brand. You put your trust in Toyota's reputation for quality. Now put your trust in Toyota-trained certified technicians who install genuine Toyota parts to help keep your Toyota a Toyota. Get your Toyota ready for the year's coldest and harshest weather. See your New England Toyota dealer for affordable service offers. Trust the experts at Toyota Service Centers and keep your Toyota a Toyota.
Welcome back, everyone. Best Buddies is the largest international organization dedicated to ending the social, physical, and economic isolation of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Since launching a chapter in Brewer, high school students are helping to achieve that mission one friendship at a time. Our Grace Blanchard explains.
In its first year, the Best Buddies chapter at Brewer High School has already become the largest chapter in the state of Maine.
It's something that I think the disability community in this area has been looking for a long time.
The program aims to foster one-to-one friendships by partnering students with and without intellectual and developmental disabilities.
I think that friendship and inclusion is a huge piece for our students, and we just want everybody to have a friend and to feel included.
The chapter is run by volunteer advisors and teaching staff that support the student-led leadership team.
I really like it because I just like being included in things.
Get to do normal things that you and your friends do. You just like go out, see each other like once a month and just do fun things, right, Ryan?
Yeah, and we also play basketball down Brewer Community School.
According to the school's principal, this program complements their mission to create a welcoming environment.
I want every student to feel like they belong, not just that they're accepted here. I want them to belong here. I want this to be their school.
The chapter's president says they're already seeing a real impact.
Last year, everyone with IDDs just kind of sat at a table together, and then this year they're really spread out and they're always sitting with their buddies. It's every time someone walks by them in the hallway, they're like, hey, it's amazing.
Students shared what they've taken away from this program.
It's always to be kind to people, no matter what it is. Like, you never know what they're going through.
That you can be nice to anyone, no matter who they are.
Exactly what she said.
In Brewer, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Isn't that great? We need more of that kind of things in our lives. All right, the time now is 6:23. Let's get a full look at that weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. We have small crowd advisories that are up until about 2 o'clock this afternoon. We also have a freezing spray advisory. That's what this light blue is. That is also in effect. But otherwise, we have cold weather advisories across the northern parts of the state as temperatures, more so the wind chills, are rather low this morning. That will drop throughout the morning period. Meanwhile, wave heights are active out there at around 1 to 5 feet. According to the buoys, not too far away. Farther out towards sea, a little bit more active at around 11 to 12 feet anywhere you see light blue or even green, indicating some active surf. So we will be dealing with that across the daytime period today. Of course, these advisories will drop during the afternoon period. For now, we are quiet outside this morning. We have a few areas of dense fog not too far away from the Millinocket area, but the rest of us staying rather clear, and we will be seeing a lot of sunshine today. Looks like maybe a few clouds trying to develop, but overall today, the sunshine will be winning out. The rest of the Northeast looking pretty good. field. We're watching for active weather across parts of New York State and Pennsylvania as well. That will stay to the south of us, though, but they could be dealing with some rough weather coming up rather soon. But for us moving forward today, a lot of sunshine will be on the way, maybe a few passing clouds during the afternoon. Overnight tonight, we will be under a mostly clear sky. We have increasing clouds expected as we head towards Thursday morning ahead of our next system that will be approaching, bringing snow during the afternoon period. And notice some decent snow possible too as we head towards Thursday afternoon into the evening, and possibly mixing with a little bit of rainfall and other types of wintry precipitation. So a wintry mix of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow possible during the evening and overnight period, with low pressure tracking off to the north and east. Then maybe some leftover snow flurries and snow showers possible Friday, and then throughout Friday we'll see this tapering off. So here's the thinking right now: not a lot of snow, around 1 to 3 inches possible for the areas in the blue before we're all finished up. Anywhere you see the yellow, mainly the northwestern parts of the state and up in the parts of Canada, expecting around 3 to 5 inches, locally higher amounts there. So not a lot of snow for us, but definitely some on the way. Middle teens today, mostly sunny, wind chills of 15 below at times. Northwest wind getting up to about 20 miles per hour. Tonight, 5 below, becoming mostly clear with the wind overall looking nice and calm. For tomorrow, here we go, lower 30s, mostly cloudy, afternoon snow moving in, and that south wind getting up to around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast. Partly cloudy with a slight chance for snow on Friday with highs in the mid-30s, and then cooling off throughout the day with mid-20s on the way for your Saturday under a partly cloudy sky. The Super Bowl, of course, is on Sunday. We have snow on the way with highs in the low 20s.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
It's time to start planning that new home or garage you've been thinking about. Hammond Lumber Company is here to help, offering complete building packages with everything you need. With several options on their website and thousands of unique plans in their in-house drawing catalog, Hammond will help you make your dreams a reality. Choose your materials from Hammond's extensive showroom displays, and Hammond will deliver your order from any of the locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Start planning your new home or garage at Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner.
Let your creativity run free at the Creative Arts Center, where we offer fun and affordable activities for all ages. Birthday parties, pottery wheel classes, painting lessons, or just for the fun of it. Get fired up for glazing projects as well as acrylics. We offer a wide selection of ceramic products for you to choose from, and we have thousands of pieces ready to paint. We are a Paragon kiln dealer and a Laguna Clay distributor. Stop by the Creative Arts Center today, located just off the Joshua Chamberlain Bridge in Brewer. The Creative Arts Center, where your only limitation is your imagination.
Pirate Billy Bones is coming your way. Pirate School, Sea Dreams at the Gracie Theater, Saturday, February 8th. It's a madcap family show that gives kids the chance to live out their dreams of swashbuckling adventures. With Pirate School, Sea Dreams, cannons boom, skulls talk, and everyone, young and old, can be a briny buccaneer. Pirate School, Sea Dreams at the Gracie Theater, 3:30 p.m. on Saturday, February 8th. Call 941-7888 or go to gracietheater.com.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
One person is dead and 5 others wounded after a shooting at a cosmetics warehouse in Ohio. Police in the city of New Albany responded to an active shooter situation on Tuesday night. The New Albany Police Department says 5 people were taken to a hospital. Police are now searching for a person of interest and say the shooting appears to be targeted. Police say they do not have a motive for that shooting. Well, now to the West Coast, where critics are slamming a new water supply plan in California as alarming. Here's ABC's Andrew Dimbert.
This morning, growing questions about the effectiveness of a plan to address California's water crisis weeks after the deadly wildfires. President Trump recently signed an executive order directing the Army Corps of Engineers to release billions of gallons of water from 2 reservoirs.
All we're doing is giving Los Angeles and the entire state of California virtually unlimited water.
But many locals are slamming the move. one watermaster calling it alarming and scary. Between last Friday and Sunday, 2.2 billion gallons of water were released from dams at Lake Kauai and Lake Success. Many farmers are furious, saying it will leave them without enough water to irrigate later this year during the dry months.
This is the time of year when we're trying to store water in our reservoirs for the very hot, dry summer that looks like is coming.
Another issue, the reservoirs are in California's Central Valley, far from the LA fire zone.
It's literally physically impossible to get the water out of Lake Kauai or Terminus Dam to LA.
But EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin defending Trump's decision.
President Trump made his priority clear. We want to make sure the water is flowing. We also want to make sure that there's access to safe drinking water.
Meanwhile, a financial boost for wildfire victims. Organizers at the Grammy Awards and at last week's Fire Aid concert announcing the events raised a combined $125 million for relief efforts. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
And today, California's governor meets with President Trump to talk about that situation. Well, less than 1 week after that deadly plane crash in Washington, we have new information about the number of close calls at Reagan National Airport. Experts have raised concerns for years now. ABC's Andrea Fugii with that story.
ABC News has uncovered at least 15 incidents of close calls at Reagan National Airport, similar to last week's collision between a passenger plane and Army helicopter.
Something should have been done about this long time ago.
The reports date back to 1991, showing pilots notifying authorities of planes and helicopters flying close to one another, calling Reagan probably the most dangerous airport in America and an accident waiting to happen. Experts say the helicopter route and landing path at Reagan are essentially putting aircraft in the same place.
Step one for the FAA is to move these helicopter routes away from DCA so that there is always a margin of safety and we don't have to rely on see and avoid that led to the tragedy with American.
Preliminary data shows last week's collision was at just over 300 feet. The chopper was supposed to be flying below 200 feet. Andrea Fugii, ABC News, New York.
And coming up on the second half of the newscast, playing cribbage is a favorite Maine pastime. And now a woman from Bradford has turned it into her own business. We'll check out her crafts. Very unique cribbage boards coming up, all made by hand. Plus, all the day sports news as Good Morning Maine continues.
Dragon Slayer Arcade now has 2 locations inside the Bangor Mall. Dragon Slayer has birthday party packages starting at just $50, which provides you with a designated area for you and your friends, which includes pizza and drinks. Dragon Slayer is all about birthday parties and would love for you to spend your next birthday with us. Give Dragon Slayer a call today to schedule your next birthday party. 860-462-1843.
Come bowl a few games here at Bangor Brewer Bowling Lanes. We're one of the only candlepin bowling alley centers in Maine, conveniently located in the heart of Brewer. You always have the opportunity to simply bowl for fun. However, you can also join a league. We have youth leagues, adult and senior leagues. Now don't forget, we also host birthday parties for under $100, and gift certificates are also available. Give us a call right away at 989-3798 to make reservations for your birthday party today.
Don't cry, don't whine. Get yours where I got mine. At BB's Tattoo Company, 262 Moosehead Trail, Newport.
Pirate Billy Bones is coming your way. Pirate School, Sea Dreams at the Gracie Theater, Saturday, February 8th. It's a madcap family show that gives kids the chance to live out their dreams of swashbuckling adventures. With Pirate School, Sea Dreams, cannons boom, skulls talk, and everyone, young and old, can be a briny buccaneer. Pirate School, Sea Dreams at the Gracie Theater, 3:30 p.m. on Saturday, February 8th. Call 941-7888 or go to gracietheater.com.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Wednesday, February 5th, 2025, and it's also National Girls and Women in Sports Day. This holiday is meant to break the gender stereotypes around the sports industry, encouraging girls and women to be fearless and to take on any sport that they choose. All right, time for history. It was on this date back in 1631. British clergyman Roger Williams, who founded the colony of Rhode Island, arrived in Massachusetts seeking religious freedom. In 1919, screen legends Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, and Douglas Fairbanks were among those who created their own movie studio called United Artists. Rival studio MGM bought the company in 1981 for about $380 million. In 1937, President Franklin D. Roosevelt proposed expanding the Supreme Court up to 15 justices. He was then accused of trying to pack the court, and the president later dropped the plan that year. In 1953, the Walt Disney animated film Peter Pan opened up at the Roxy Theater in New York. And in 2003, Secretary of State Colin Powell went before the United Nations to justify the U.S. invasion in Iraq. He claimed Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, but that proved not to be the case. And finally, in 2012, I don't want to dig out an old wound here, that's when the New England Patriots were beaten by the New York Giants in that year's Super Bowl. Hard to remember that one. Hard to think about it anyway. All right, for birthdays today, they include actress Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is 63 years old today. Actor Chris Parnell is 58. And country singer Sarah Evans is 54 years old today. Happy birthday to them. And if you're also celebrating a birthday, we hope you have an amazing day as well. All right, we're going to shift gears now and send it back over to Devin for another check of that weather forecast.
Hey, Craig, thank you very much. Some reduced visibility greeting us this morning, especially near the Millinocket area, so some areas of dense fog greeting us in a few spots this morning. On top of that, we do have small cloud advisories that are posted along the coast, and this will last until later on today at about 2 o'clock or so in the afternoon. We also have cold weather advisories further off towards the north. Some cold temperatures and some cold wind chills have been observed. Check out the low temperatures so far this morning. They're actually not too bad across the northern parts of the state. Further down to the south, not too bad either. The wind not doing much favors across the northern parts of the state. But for now, not a whole lot going on. And in fact, today looking like a nice day on the way, filled with a lot of sunshine. But that will be changing later on as we'll be watching for opportunities for snow. Not today, but in the days to come. But for now, the whole Northeast looking rather quiet, with the exception of Pennsylvania and New York. Some snow starting to develop. Some active weather on the way for them. But futurecast for us in the short term, lots of sunshine, maybe a few passing clouds today. Coming up later on tonight, staying mostly clear for a while, but notice clouds will begin to move in ahead of our next system. Here's the gusty winds reaching up to about 20 miles per hour today, and the winds will start to calm down a little bit overnight tonight and not looking too bad for tomorrow either. Your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing a lot of sunshine with temperatures warming into the mid-teens. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig?
All right, thank you, Devin. We'll see you later on. Gaming is a popular pastime for youth, but one Bradford mom is turning gaming into a real moneymaker. Our Jody Hersey has more.
I've learned in Maine especially, you can never have too many cribbage boards.
Megan Benavides of Bradford has never played cribbage in her life, but that hasn't stopped this talented woodworker from making cribbage boards.
I feel like in Maine that is a family game, and I love hearing people tell me, oh, I play with my grandkids, or I got them this board, and it's an heirloom and they keep it forever.
Benavides uses birch wood and a laser engraver. She designs some boards with 4 layers and others with 7 and 8 layers of wood so people can store their playing cards and pegs inside.
That's what I love about them. I love making unique ones, especially because that's what people want. Like, they don't want 10 of the same one. So I love that people collect them and they like different styles.
This mom of 2 does all her work at home after her kids go to bed and sells her products at craft fairs, on Etsy, and on her website, willowberryworkshop.com.
Benavides has sold her custom cribbage boards in all 50 states, as well as the Netherlands, Germany, Canada, and Japan.
Last year was my best year yet, and this year going to be even better.
In Bradford, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Boy, those are fantastic. Good for her. Still ahead this morning, Jack Webb with all the day's sports news. Don't go away. I'm going to guess.
Counties in our state, Cumberland and Franklin, Piscataqua and Kennebec, Oxford and Muskegon. 2, 3, 4, Water, Washington, New York, Lincoln, Knox and Hancock, Saginaw, Hopkins, Somerset, Aroostook and Penobscot.
Save thousands on your new garage doors during the double rebate event at PDQ Door. Choose from several beautiful Clopay garage doors and get up to a $250 online rebate, and PDQ Door will instantly double it to save you $500. Buy 4 garage doors and get up to $1,000 in rebates, and PDQ Door will instantly double it to save you $2,000. Find a door you adore during our double rebate event for a limited time only.
It's high school basketball season, and ABC7 and Fox 22 are here to keep you up to date with your local scores and highlights during Friday Night Fast Break. Get out and support your hometown teams and look for our sports crew to get your own free Friday Night Fast Break t-shirt courtesy of
Coastal Auto Parts East Millinocket, Jackson's Automotive, K&M Auto Repair, Maine Collision Center, the Donut Grove, and the Family Dog.
This is my playpen.
I get that, Your Honor.
Perfect.
Judge Judy never misses a beat.
Weeknights at 5 on ABC7.
Welcome back in, folks. Maine men's hockey got back on track this past weekend, taking down Northeastern on Friday by a score of 3-1, then 20th ranked UMass 3-2 on Sunday. The Black Bears now find themselves in their 5th top 10 series of the year as they'll make the trip down to Rhode Island this weekend to take on the 7th ranked Providence Friars. The Friars are on the back end of a month-long gauntlet with series against Boston College, UMass Lowell, and UConn, losing 5 of their last 6 over that stretch, but the Black Bears know they'll get their best come Friday.
They have a lot of skill in their team this year, too. I think they're more skilled than they've been the last couple of years, so not only are they going to hit you and finish every check and always be above the puck, they're going to make plays. And so it's as good of a team as, different than a BCBU, like, obviously heavier, different type of game, but it's as good of a team as we'll play.
Puck drops on Friday at 7 p.m. down at Schneider Arena. Staying on the ice, playoff hockey is here in Maine. The Penobscot Pioneers, in their 3rd season operating, will host their 3rd straight home quarterfinal game on Wednesday night against Lewiston. The Pioneers finished in 4th place this year in Class A North after losing 6 seniors last year. They say they had all they had to get used to a brand new lineup, but the Pios finished the year with a spark, trailing 2nd-ranked Portland 7-2 in the second period. The Pioneers stormed back to take a 9-8 lead in the 3rd before falling in overtime, and they feel good heading into the quarterfinals.
Getting used to having a brand new lineup this year was a big challenge that we overcame, but we came together, and I think teamwork and just like bonding at the hockey family really brought us success this year. I think it's very good because it's the first game that we've done that this season. Like, I feel like once we usually get back on games, we don't step it up, but to have that as the end of the season and going into playoffs, I think we're ready.
Williams also notched her 150th career point in that game, too. The Pioneers are a varsity co-op made of 7 schools from the Penobscot area, but every year their chemistry is off the charts, and they've all collectively come together from seniors to freshmen and are ready to roll Wednesday night.
All around the board, whether you were a freshman, whether you were a senior, we all spoke our own voice. We all came together. We all listened to each other. We're one big family, no matter who you are. We're like all like a sisterhood. Our freshmen have definitely stepped up for the end of the season. I feel like they're shy at first, but we've obviously stepped it up. And I think we have a good flow going into the playoffs.
It's a sisterhood. I love that. We'll stay with the high school scene, but go to the hardwood now, and we'll start over in Hamden. It was a big matchup between the Bangor Rams and the Hamden Broncos with some serious heel points up for grabs. We picked this one up in the third quarter. Mallory Lozier stops, pops, and drains the mid-range jumper to bring Hamden within one. Broncos again now. Caitlin Adams drives and makes a beautiful pass to Grace Labrie, who finishes the layup to give Hamden a 5-point lead. After cooling off in the second half, this Delaney Horde jumper would get the Rams going again and cut into the Hamden lead and bring it to 5 points. Shortly after, Aislinn Gifford finds Hoare for the layup to bring the Rams within one. With less than a second on the clock, Bangor fails to get the shot off, and Hamden holds on to win 39-37. Brewer Witches hosting the Nokomis Warriors now. It was senior night for Brewer. We're going to pick this one up in the first quarter where Steven Youngs, the senior, steals the ball. He takes it all the way coast to coast with the left-handed layup. On the other end, Owen Side slices through the defense and finishes through the contact for the bucket and the foul to cut into the Witches' lead. Brewer now. Charlie Bridges feeds Owen Fullerton, who takes it strongly to the bucket for two. Brewer up 14. Warriors trying to get back in it. The give and go frees up Dawson Townsend, who buries the three. He's got a silky jumper that runs in the Townsend blood, but it was the seniors getting it done on their night. Like here, Bridges finds Perry, who feeds Fullerton in the low post for the layup. Brewer wins 61-41. Here are some other scores from around the region. Belfast getting it done in a tight one over Oceanside. Herman over John Baptist. Penobscot Valley wins the rivalry matchup with Mackinac, and then Lawrence survives Coney to stay undefeated in Class A girls. Staying with basketball now, we're just over a week away from the Maine High School basketball tournament, and two stars from the tourney over the past few years have found new hoop homes. Starting with Pierce Walston, the guard led the Orono Red Riots to back-to-back state championship victories versus a junior, and lastly, as a senior, Walston is committed to Husson University after taking a year off this winter. He was the Maine Gatorade Player of the Year as a senior, and out in Ellsworth, Chance Mercier is committed to Southern Maine Community College after his year away from basketball. Mercier was named Mr. Maine Basketball a year ago. He led the Eagles to an incredible win-loss record, including a regional title his sophomore year and regional runners-up as a junior. So great to see two of the state's best getting back into the game. That's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Tanning season is here, and Gold Star Cleaners is the place to tan with over 25 years experience in the industry. Did you know all tanning packages don't expire for 2 full years? And no membership is required. Gold Star Cleaners doesn't upcharge. Tan in any bed or booth, and it's the same price. And we give every customer free Winkies for the best eye care protection in the industry.
February special. Buy 5 visits or more and be automatically entered to win 6 months of free tanning. And don't forget our Valentine's bag deals, a perfect gift.
Another morning to savor the crunchy nooks and cranny splendor of a Thomas's English muffin.
Tom, which is a nook and which is a cranny?
That's a nook, cranny, cranny, nook, cranny. I mean, they should be teaching you this in school. Huzzah! A toast to breakfast.
The Furniture Gallery is celebrating President's Day. Camp and Cottage queen mattresses starting at just $198. Revolutionize your space with a cozy recliner. 3 color choices for only $298. Declare your independence from outdated furniture with a sofa chaise for $598, or a sofa and love seat set just $798. Get comfortable with the Scott Living King mattress, yours for the price of a queen. And don't miss these clearance deals up to 70% off. Hurry into the Furniture Gallery before these monumental deals are history. The Furniture Gallery.
Goose River Farm and Meat Store is conveniently located on Route 3 across from Hammond Lumber in Belfast. They have a wide selection of meat and poultry, including beef, pork, lamb, chicken, duck, rabbit, and turkey. Open Tuesday through Saturday.
Maine Republicans renewed their push to end a program that gives subsidies to solar companies called net energy billing, saying that businesses who use a lot of electricity can no longer afford the cost. Senate Republican leader Trey Stewart says there are more effective and cheaper ways to generate electricity and to protect the environment.
So we don't buy that argument. I think it's a false flag that we have to protect this program in order to save the environment. In fact, it's as you're seeing across Maine, eating up all kinds of precious farmland and other land that really should be preserved. And certainly It's a problem when you think about the lack of any sort of program or plan in place for remediation. And what happens after these solar panels are at the end of their short life.
Of renewable energy and net energy billing say the program actually saves ratepayers money by shifting the state away from the fossil fuel market, which they say is responsible for the spike in energy prices between 2021 and 2023.
Instead, those high energy costs, they're coming from those very things that we heard about today, that we have an incredibly volatile fossil fuel market that is leading to increased costs of natural gas, as well as increases in our transmission rates, costs from storm recovery. All of these things are contributing to high bills, and that should be an absolute area of focus for Maine lawmakers.
On Thursday, the Energy Utilities and Technology Committee will hear public testimony on 2 Republican-sponsored bills to eliminate that program. Well, nonprofit organizations from across Maine were at the State House yesterday to help showcase their important work for lawmakers. The Maine Association of Nonprofits hosts the annual gathering as a way to help nonprofit leaders connect with their local lawmakers and vice versa.
And what they're here to talk to their legislators about is for the legislators to understand that the decisions they make here are very important, whether it's the state budget or it's types of things that might be impacting how housing gets determined, or all the different types of things, state regulations when it comes to land use. There are all kinds of ways that nonprofits are trying to achieve their missions to support their communities that state legislators are really critical for.
We will keep you up to date on all the situations underway in Augusta. A lot happening down in Augusta, a lot happening in Washington these days. Now we're going to turn our attention back to that forecast with Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. We have small crowd advisories that are up until about 2 o'clock this afternoon. We also have a freezing spray advisory. That's what this light blue is. That is also in effect. But otherwise, we have cold weather advisories across the northern parts of the state as temperatures, more so the wind chills, are rather low this morning. That will drop throughout the morning period. Meanwhile, wave heights are active out there at around 1 to 5 feet. According to the buoys, not too far away. Farther out towards sea, a little bit more active at around 11 to 12 feet anywhere you see light blue or even green indicating some active surf, so we will be dealing with that across the daytime period today. Of course, these advisories will drop during the afternoon period. For now, we are quiet outside this morning. We have a few areas of dense fog not too far away from the Millinocket area, but the rest of us staying rather clear, and we will be seeing a lot of sunshine today. Looks like maybe a few clouds trying to develop, but overall today, the sunshine will be winning out. The rest of the Northeast looking pretty good. We're watching for active weather across parts of New York State and Pennsylvania as well. That will stay to the south of us, though, but they could be dealing with some rough weather coming up rather soon. But for us moving forward today, a lot of sunshine will be on the way, maybe a few passing clouds during the afternoon. Overnight tonight, we will be under a mostly clear sky. We have increasing clouds expected as we head towards Thursday morning ahead of our next system that will be approaching, bringing snow during the afternoon period. And notice some decent snow possible too as we head towards Thursday afternoon into the evening, and possibly mixing with a little bit of rainfall and other types of wintry precipitation. So a wintry mix of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow possible during the evening and overnight period with low pressure tracking off to the north and east. Then maybe some leftover snow flurries and snow showers possible Friday, and then throughout Friday we'll see this tapering off. So here's the thinking right now: not a lot of snow, around 1 to 3 inches possible for the areas in the blue before we're all finished up. Anywhere you see the yellow, mainly the northwestern parts of the state and up into parts of Canada, expecting around 3 to 5 inches, locally higher amounts there. So not a lot of snow for us, but definitely some on the way. Middle teens today, mostly sunny, wind chills of 15 below at times. Northwest wind getting up to about 20 miles per hour. Tonight, 5 below, becoming mostly clear with the wind overall looking nice and calm. For tomorrow, here we go, lower 30s, mostly cloudy, afternoon snow moving in, and that south wind getting up to around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast. Partly cloudy with a slight chance for snow on Friday with highs in the mid-30s, and then cooling off throughout the day with mid-20s on the way for you Saturday under a partly cloudy sky. The Super Bowl, of course, is on Sunday. We have snow on the way with highs in the low 20s.
If you haven't walked through the showroom at Davis Brothers Furniture in a while, we invite you to come take a look. At Davis Brothers, we've always strived to stand out from the rest. For decades now, the goal has been the same. Give people a reason to travel from all over the state and beyond to Davis Brothers Furniture in Guilford. Everything in our showroom is designed with you in mind, from a rustic lodge and barn look to traditional and even contemporary furniture. It's more than just a unique look, it's a lifestyle. Davis Brothers Furniture, deliberately different.
It's high school basketball season, and ABC7 and Fox 22 are here to keep you up to date with your local scores and highlights during Friday Night Fast Break. Get out and support your hometown teams and look for our sports crew to get your own free Friday Night Fast Break t-shirt courtesy of
Bay Area Fitness, Coastal Auto Parts Belfast, Colburn Shoe, Front Street Shipyard, Moore Septic Incorporated, and the Chocolate Drop Candy Shop.
With winter upon us, you'll want to feel safe on the road. So take action right now by heading to your Toyota all-wheel drive headquarters for our Washington's Birthday sales event, where you could get $4.99 for $60 on an all-wheel drive Camry hybrid with elevated design and an outstanding safety rating. Plus, get 2 years no-cost maintenance. Hurry in and save on a vehicle from the longest-lasting brand, Toyota. See your New England Toyota dealer, your all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
Got an itchy throat from allergies? New Claritin Liquid provides powerful all-day allergy relief in an instantly soothing liquid. For relief of even your most irritating symptoms, like an itchy throat. New Claritin Liquid. Live Claritin Clear.
It's gonna be our best science fair.
Let's get to work.
Whoa!
I can't do the science fair because my permission slip isn't signed.
Can't believe you need permission to be a nerd.
You don't want to miss it because it's something to see.
Welcome back, everyone. A group of celebrities is now suiting up for this year's Met Gala. The Met's Costume Institute says it is bringing back a host committee for this year's gala, which will feature a variety of celebrities in various fields. The more than 20-person committee will include Simone Biles, Spike Lee, Usher, and Audra McDonald, along with previously announced hosts Pharrell Williams, Lewis Hamilton, Coleman Domingo, A$AP Rocky, and LeBron James. The Met Gala's dress code is tailored for you, which will focus on suiting and menswear. This year's gala marks the first time in 20 years that the theme will highlight menswear with a particular focus on black men's style. The gala is set for May 5th, and the Superfine Tailoring Black Style exhibit will be open on May 10th. And Shamrock Shake season is now upon us. McDonald's Shamrock Shake is a milkshake made with vanilla soft serve ice cream, minty green syrup, and whipped topping. And it will return to restaurants on Monday, February 10th. In addition, the Oreo Shamrock McFlurry, made with vanilla soft serve, minty green syrup, and Oreo cookie pieces, will also be on the menu. So if you're into that Shamrock Shake stuff, you are definitely in luck. Got to give it a try one of these days. I know a lot of people love them. All right, that'll do it for this hour. We'll continue to broadcast on Fox 22 for the next couple of hours. But if you're heading out for the day, we hope you have a wonderful day.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
Your favorite restaurants for half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
Opa, a Greek Mediterranean dining experience like no other, serving the finest of Greek dishes in central Maine. Let executive chef Gage Derbyshire prepare your food while you enjoy a drink. Opa! It's all Greek to me.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC7.
Pirate Billy Bones is coming your way. Pirate School, Sea Dreams at the Gracie Theater, Saturday, February 8th. It's a madcap family show that gives kids the chance to live out their dreams of swashbuckling adventures. With Pirate School, Sea Dreams, cannons boom, skulls talk, and everyone, young and old, can be a briny buccaneer. Pirate School, Sea Dreams at the Gracie Theater, 3:30 p.m. on Saturday, February 8th. Call 941-7888 or go to gracietheater.com.
Welcome to Residential Roofers, your trusted local contractor for over 30 years. From groundwork to roofing, siding, windows, and doors, we've been transforming homes and businesses with premium craftsmanship and materials. We understand the value of your investment. That's why we're committed to your complete satisfaction, whether it's enhancing curb appeal or improving functionality. Ready to bring your vision to life? Call us today for a no-obligation, free estimate at 991-1502. Trust your home to Residential Roofers.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Good morning, America. President Trump's proposal for
Live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, President Trump announces a plan for the U.S. to take over the Gaza Strip. Plus, Maine communities may soon have more power to take over abandoned dams in Maine. And we'll also see how local hospitals are picking up the slack when it comes to delivering babies. Good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Colson. Emma Smith has the week off. We thank you so much for joining us this morning. We'll have those stories and a lot more coming up. But first, to check that forecast. If you head outside today, you'll realize, boy, it is cold. Not quite as cold as we thought it was going to be, but it was still down around 5 degrees when I headed into work today. And the wind chills today are going to make it feel much colder, well below zero in some places. And it looks like maybe some snow arriving in the state tomorrow. For more on what we can expect, let's turn things over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.